Truma, there is uh, there's a level of Truma. The first time it says Truma, it's going on Torah. Second time it says on Truma, it's going on Kriyashma, Mesiras Nefesh, or davening. And the third time it says Truma at the beginning of our parsha, it's referring to mitzvahs. So what we have is this Truma of Torah, we said, is something that permeates even into Kriyashma, even into mitzvahs, because all of it is rooted in Torah. And the Torah, even more so, when it comes down into all of these things, when it comes down into Torah, when it comes down into Kriyashma, when it comes down into the mitzvahs, even though Torah is the highest, it comes to a higher level of shleimus when it comes down and impacts and is involved in those two levels. So now this is a mimer. When the Rebbe said it, there was other issue. There was two others in that year. And there's a last mimer of the Friedrich Rebbe having to do in Purim, that he said in Purim Cotton, and he's going to connect it with that mimer. If for Kasher to them, we can connect what we just now spoke about, the three levels of Teruma. What's explained in the mimer titled the Kibla Yehudim, number of Moscow, Purim Cotton topic designed was said in Moscow in Purim Cotton, Purim test of other Yudal other Aleph in the year Tafresh Pesai 1927. In a Mevorsham, it's explained over there in that mimer. Because of the Kibla Yehudim is that the Yidden accepted what they began to do. So what's the two things? They accepted and they began to do. Friedrich Rebbe explains, talks about two different periods. Began to do is one period, they accepted is the time of Purim. It's a Koy Alazman Hagolus, that they accepted what they began to do. The acceptance is referring to the time of Golus. The Dafka Bisman Hagolus specifically during the time of Golus, Kiblus That's when they accepted what they began already at a previous time, in the time of Matan Torah. This, the Friedrich Rebbe derives from the pasuk V'kibla Yehudim. The Chazal have a different pasuk that they use for it. Amram Zal pasuk and Chazal say on the pasuk Kimu V'kibla Yehudim. Why does it say the Yidden fulfilled and accepted? Perhaps part of the question is it should say the other way around. Maybe it should say they accepted and then they fulfilled. So the Chazal explained the Kimu Ata that now they fulfilled Masha Kibul Matan Torah, that which they already accepted at the time of Matan Torah. Seemingly, this is a wondrous thing. They've been Matan Torah, Yisrael, but actually, we don't even Torah. The Yidden were in the ultimate state of ascent and elevation. Also, afterwards, in the time that the Beis Hamikdash was standing, it says, "Vayeshev Shlomo al Kisei Havaya Gomer," that Shlomo Melech was sitting on the throne of Hashem. So, therefore, all these times, the times that are the opposite of Golus, not the time of Achashverosh, not the time of Haman, but the time of the Beis Hamikdash, the time of Shlomo Melech, the time of Matan Torah, the Yidden were on the highest level. Still in all, the psukim that we brought indicate, V'afal Pikein, still in all, Hine Avodesh Bezmanim Elu, Mikras B'Shem Mechelu Lahas. The avoid in these times are, according to the Friedrich Rebbe's explanation of the pasuk, only beginning to do. Vacuum, Vakabala, the Matan Torah. Again, taking from either the pasuk that the Chazal say, Kimu Mashkibul Kvar, or the pasuk V'kibla Yehudim. So the Kiyum is the pasuk that the Chazal used for the final goals, and Kabbalah is from the pasuk V'kibla Yehudim that the Friedrich Rebbe uses as a proof for this. So he says, V'kiyum Vakabala, the Matan Torah, the fulfillment and the acceptance of Matan Torah, Bisman goals was specifically in the time of exile. Bisman Haman, the time of the decree of Haman, contrary to saying, when we did not see our signs, when there was no revelation of godliness. So seemingly, it doesn't make sense that at a time that we were not the full revelation of godliness, that's when we have the ultimate level of our avodah and our acceptance of Matan Torah. But the idea behind this is the Hiyanis. This itself is the reason why. In other words, because we are distant from the time of Matan Torah, The Dafka idea, the Shabazman Golas, specifically through the descent in the time of Golas, Jaws Yashnak Zera, then there's the Kree, etc. Through standing a complete year with self-sacrifice, actually also to such a degree that they did not even consider a foreign thought. Like the Alter Rebbe explains in Torah that we on our own would not know what went on in the thought of the Yidden then. But the Alter Rebbe is Mechadish in Torah. The Rebbe points out that for the entire year, almost, that the decree of Haman went out and the Yidden were under threat of being killed, they did not consider Chas v'Shalom giving up their Yiddishkeit. So when they had that full Mesiras Nefesh for that entire year, through that, they fulfilled what they already accepted in Matan Torah. By the way, this was said by the Frierdiker Rebbe at the height of the communist oppression under Stalin's terror regime of literally killing people that were not in concert with his beliefs and so on, including people that taught Torah and kept mitzvahs, etc., etc. And shortly after this particular Purim, the Frierdiker Rebbe himself was arrested a few months later. So, top of page where do we get this power and for this type of avoid in the time of Golos? Why the Torah is through Torah. That's where he continues to explain over there in that mind very much possible. But it says from young children, from babies, from nursing children, you have founded strength, and that strength. What does that strength accomplish? To remove and to take away the enemy and the one that that's vengeful. And we're soon going to explain the details of this lahashbis and oiv misnakim. So first of all, he says the ein oiz ala Torah. We know the Chazal say that when it says oiz, like it says Hashem oiz la'ama yitain, Hashem will give his nation oiz. So oiz is referring to Torah. That is our strength. Our strength is Torah. And Kabbalah Torah, the oilim v'yankim daf, and the receiving of the Torah specifically, meaning the receiving and the acceptance of the Torah is specifically through children, through babies, through nurslings. Matan Torah, just like by Matan Torah, Chatnai Kabbalah Torah Haya Banenu Oivim, my son, that the condition to receive the Torah was that our children will be our guarantors, like the famous Medrash explained. That the Eibishter wanted to have a guarantor for the Eden fulfilling the Torah, and Eden offered all different types of options until the Eden offered their children. That's when the Eibishter accepted and said, "Okay, we'll give you the Torah." So the same thing. And again, at that time when the Frierdiker Rebbe was saying this was really one of the strongest points of contention that the Stalinist regime, that the communists could not stand. You know, if an old Yid wants to sit and learn Torah and Shul, they didn't care. They realized it's the youth. And one of the biggest crimes would be to establish a cheder and to be part of an institution that taught children Torah. That was the worst. So the Frierdiker Rebbe instead, and that's Fabrengen, the Frierdiker Rebbe spoke sikhs about very, very, very strong sikhs about making sure to send your children only to Jewish educational institutions, etc., which is literally poking the bear in the eye. It was mamish going openly and explicitly against the government that had their spies on them. Anyway, I digress. Mamish by Maimer, the Maimer continues, seemingly to battle the enemy, and how much more so with a misnakim, with someone that's vengeful. One needs to have mighty people, powerful people, strong people. You soon can explain the difference between oiv and misnakim. That's what it says, that Hashem is a man of war. The ish lashon gvura v'srara k'kirish Rashi Shal. The word ish indicates an idea of might and rulership. Rashi explains over there on the pasuk Hashem ish Muhammad. Ish harabayis, the one that's in charge of the harabayis is called ish. In other words, someone that's an official. So that's the idea of ish Muhammad, etc. So now he explains what are these two things, the oyev and the misnakim, the enemy and the vengeful person. The oyev wasayna golui, an enemy is a revealed enemy. The vengeful person is a concealed enemy, and he plots and schemes all different types of things, though in a revealed way he might try to come off as a friend. So now he says, what does it mean from the mouth of Olam and Yoinkim? The idea behind this is the idea you saw that the eyes through the founding of the strength, that the foundation of the way they act is might and strength. The only might and strength is Torah. Through their Torah study of which saying the Olam V'Yoinkim, their Torah study has a special advantage that's considered breath and air that has no sin. Through that they found and they make a basis for the level of ois that's in Torah. It's not to overcome the enemy and the vengeful one. That's why the Torah over here is called specifically ois. Why is it called ois? Specifically over here in this passage, since we're talking about being victorious over an opponent, so it's necessary to emphasize that idea that the Torah is something that is powerful and strong, because when you're dealing with an opponent, you need to have strength. Whereas other attributes of Torah, Torah's Chaim, Torah's Chesed, whatever it is, that's not over here in the topic on hand to deal with the Oyev and Misnakim. You don't need to have the other aspects of Torah, the Chesed part of Torah, the Chaim part of Torah. You need to emphasize the idea of the powerfulness, the might of Torah, as you mentioned before, that to be able to defeat a Soine and Misnakim, you need to have power and strength. So now the Rebbe goes on with what, based on the theme that we said and the context of this Maimer that was dealing over there during the communist regime. How does this apply to us? We don't have that type of challenge. This Maimer title, the Kibla Yehudim, is part of Torah Shvalpeh, and Torah Hinitzchis, the Torah is everlasting. So therefore, even this Maimer and the ideas that it puts forth implies all times. The Rebbe says we need to understand the Bishleim of this Maimer. This makes sense during the time of the reciting of the Maimer. Then there were literally revealed enemies, and there were those that were scheming and plotting behind the scenes that you didn't see them, you didn't know of them. But there had to be a war against them. So therefore, the way to fight the war, we said we needed to have Torah, the might of Torah would be able to defeat the Oyev and Misnak. What's the idea of destroying the enemy and the vengeful one these days? The Rebbe goes on to say, the idea behind this is, what's our main test? What's our main challenge these days? We don't have, Baruch Hashem, a secret police that's out to stop us from doing Torah mitzvahs, but rather, it's not to be embarrassed from those that scoff. Especially those that scoff at the idea that young children should learn Torah, Torah study with children of yeshivas and so on. I was just listening to someone describe that in yeshivas there's always like a challenge in some communities. The Rebbe by us like completely took that out of the situation. You have so many different classes teaching so many different subjects, and you have lahavdil secular studies side by side with the Limudik Kodesh. So if you want to be able to employ a teacher, there very difficult to get someone who's only going to come in the afternoon, seems to be, to learn the Limudei Chayil. So therefore, they like switch off. Some classes will start the day with Limudei Chayil and then switch off to do Limudei Kodesh later. But the Rebbe was dead set against it. So we see that even concerning the idea of the importance of Olam V'Yonkim studying, there's still battles these days to make sure that Limudei Kodesh is the first thing in the day and so on. Anyway, that's the idea of removing the enemy and the vengeful one, those that disturb and those that make fun and scoff at children and the importance of children studying Torah. Then the Rebbe goes on, also in the scoffers, there are two types. Like we said before, there's Oyev Misnaki. The revealed enemy, someone that openly scoffs. And then there's the concealed enemy, someone that hides and covers up and clothes his scoffing in tightness of Torah, and he brings all different types of explanations why and what the Torah study of children is not like the first priority. You do a Pirish Maimon as all known, but Chazal explained. That's the trick. That's the tradecraft. That's the professional Yitzhahara. Today he tells them, do so until he tells them, go serve idols. Initially, the Yitzhah comes to the person with complaints of Torah. It tells him, do things that way. He agrees to the person fulfilling mitzvahs. But he says he also mixes in, the Yitzhahara also agrees with what you're doing mitzvahs. But the fact that the Yitzhahara is the one that gives agreement, so now once the Yitzhahara gives agreement, so then the Yitzhahara, like they say, Yiddish Verta Dei Zager, the Yitzhahara is also entitled to his opinion. So then eventually, he afterwards can listen to him and say, go out and serve. Meaning go out and serve Avodah Zarah. Any questions before we go on to the next page? Okay, we're holding the 5th page of the copies, top of page Reish Dalet. So now he brings us back to the beginning of our parsha. Hashem told Moshe that Moshe should speak to the Bnei Yisrael, and they shall take from me a Truma. So, what is the idea of Moshe Rabbeinu speaking to the Bnei Yisrael over here? He says that koyach la'avodah now, the koyach for this avodah to be able to deal with the importance of Torah study and the way Torah study influences and reaches the children and the Torah mitzvahs and so and mitzvahs and the davening and so on. So now why didn't see through the leader of the generation? As we know, this Pashtus, the Moshe B'chol Dara V'Dara, the expansion of Moshe Rabbeinu is to be found in every single generation. But the Rein, who points in our generation, the one who is the Moshe of our generation, that's my father-in-law, the leader of our generation. He is the one that empowers us to be able to remove the enemy and the one that is vengeful. Especially that it now is the time of it. Because now we find ourselves, this Maimer was said in other Aleph that year that had 2 others, and it was right before Purim Cotton. It was Gimel Adar, so it was about a week and a half before Purim Cotton, and therefore it's an auspicious time to deal with it. Also through the avoid according to the directives of the Frierdiker Rebbe, become the destroying the enemy and the vengeful one. The Rebbe adds, according to the 2 explanations in the word Hashbasa that's explained in the words of Chazal. It says in parts of the Chokoise al Pasuk Vishbati Chayarav Mina Oretz. It says, I will make stop the evil, the bad, the wild animals from the earth. Especially it says concerning Mashiach's time. So there is two ways of explaining what it means. Either Mavira Mina Olam. One is he will destroy them. No more lions, no more bears, no more alligators. They'll be gone. You see, I'm in Florida. The Chivas is kafi at the level, but over there you're not transforming the bad, you're just sublimating it. Umajbisa, that is one explanation. Another explanation of Ishbati Chayim Ra means Umajbisan Shaloyaziku. He stops it that they will not damage. In other words, the lion will still be there, the bear will still be there, etc. But they will be friendly. Like we say that a lion will eat straw like cattle, and a child will play. This all the Vush Yeshaya, a child will play with a snake's hole or whatever. And it says over there that the wolf will be friendly with the sheep, etc., etc., which is a deeper level. That'll be transformed darkness to light and bitter to sweet. When they become transformed, it's greater than just destroying them, because through that we used to it's the greater light that comes out of the darkness. Then the Rebbe says this is also the idea of li. So much v'ikhu li truma li lishmi, that you're taking it for my sake. So what does that mean? You're taking it for my sake because of what the meaning of the word truma is. The truma yeshma base pirush. The word truma has in it two explanations. Lashon harama malmata lamaylo, when truma means the word ram v'nisan misraimus, he's raising it up. Lashon hafrasha, anytime you separate something from something else, that's the word truma. Now, usually, when you're separating something with something else, that other thing is bigger, is larger, is greater, and you're separating from that larger amount. So if you're separating something small from a greater thing, so then that's the opposite of going from below to above. That's milmaila lamata. That's taking from above down to below. These are the latter two levels of truma that we spoke about. Out of the three trumas we spoke about, there's Torah, there's Kriyash Man, and slash Mesiras Nefesh, Tefillah, and there's mitzvah. So Kriyash Ma is the level of Allah. The whole davening, the whole idea of Kriyash Ma, the whole level of davening is about rising up and joining, becoming united with Hashem. Mitzvah is Amshach of Afrasha. Mitzvah is about drawing down. And again, Afrasha, we said, is also about drawing down, removing and separating. Mitzvah is about bringing the godly light force down here in this world in the physical mitzvahs. Both of them comes about through Torah, which is the first truma. Like it says, v'ikhu truma, they will take from me a truma that causes the rest to take place. Like we said before, truma, the Torah is the source both for the Kriyash and the mitzvahs. Now that ever as Afrosha, we're saying separating, we're saying that's going from above to below. So seemingly has certain negative connotations. It's a level of descent. The Kol Mokum still in his Barle was previously explained. Shadavka Day Slap just why you need the Lamata boy Mutaksa Ilui, only through clothing descending below we come to the ultimate ascent. Zel. That we said that the three terumas is talking about the three levels of being able to give. You give like an ayin toiva 1/40th, you can give like an ayin beinani 1/50th, or 2%, or you can give like an ayin ra, which is 1/60th. We said all these three things are hinted in the three terumas, and we explained how to do with the three things of Torah and Kriyashma and mitzvahs. So the point is also in the simple sense, a literal ayin ra, the power of Torah is so much that it can even affect in someone that is called ayin ra, even something that's called bad. The ultimate of bad is to be transformed to good. It says Hashem also waits the Rosh for his bad day. So the simple meaning of the pasuk is that Liyom Ra is Chas v'Shalom when he will be punished. But the Alter Rebbe explains, what does it mean Liyom Ra? Pirush, Hashem awaits Sheyashuv Mirishay, that the Rasha should make tshuva and turn back from his wickedness. The Yasa Harasha Lo Yoim V'Olam, transform the bad Rasha Liyoim Ra. The Ra he will transform to the Yoim. He will make it day and he will make it light above. How does it make it day and light above? What does it have to do with him? His tshuva doing light above. He got the scafi sitra acher is solid because when sitra acher becomes sublimated, so then the glory of the Eibishter rises up in all the world. So therefore, he's making a light above when he does tshuva. That's the 3 times truma that it says at the beginning of Parsha. The truma, the first truma that it says, that's the beginning of everything and the source of everything. Through Torah, it's the cleaving with the Eibishter in a totally perfect way that you are taking me, like we said, that the li means oisi. And from the Torah, we come to the other trumas. Okay, Pashtas Indian, like the literal thing is, the learners halachas Shabbat. First, we studied halachas in Torah, hilchas Talmud Torah, v'hilchas Tefillah, v'kriyas Shema, v'chakashar halachas kol mitzvahs. So therefore, since the only way you could do kriyas Shema, do daven, do all the mitzvahs is by first learning Torah. So therefore, first comes the Torah, and through the Torah comes all these other things. That's also the idea of Torah study that precedes davening. Though it's explained in a different place. The advantage of davening before learning, like the Abba Binyamin said, he wanted this davening to be close to his bed. In other words, meaning as soon as he gets up, that's when he davens. We call Still in all, there needs to be Torah study before davening, like we're doing now, Chassidus before davening. Why? You could pass in like in a simple sense. We need to learn when to daven, how to daven, and to whom to daven. That comes by learning Chassidus before davening. Most of that, at least. Al-Derech, the movement of Gel and Mitzvah is similar to this understood concerning mitzvahs. That before we do mitzvahs, we got to learn the halachas of the mitzvahs, or else we don't know how to do it. Spheres, and when we talk about these 3 levels in the spheres in the Gimel Trumas Elohim Chachma Bina V'Zah, it corresponds to Chachma Bina V'Zah. Echad Mishishim Ub'Chin Zah. 1 of 6D, that's Zah. Zeirampin Sheet by Vav Midas, it has 6 Midas. The Choloi and Cholachas Plulam Yud, and each one of those 6 is made up of 10, so that's 60. Echad Mechamishim Ub'Chin Bina, Nunchar Bina. 1 out of 50 is the level of Bina, the 50 gates of Bina. 1 out of 40, that's the level of Chachma, because that's the level of 40 days that the Torah was given. And this Torah came out of Chachma. And the Torah is the first Torah, like we said. Avoida, that's Kriya Shema, that's Tefillah. And Gmils Chasadim is the general idea of all the mitzvahs. In Eksiv, it says in the Pasuk, Tziyim v'mishpatipadim shavab tzedakah, Tziyim will be redeemed with justice and its captives b'tzedakah. So we know that it's always explained what is mishpat. Mishpat hainu Torah. Mishpat is going on Torah, like it says on the word mishpat harishin means kihilchas hakadmais. It's talking about Torah learning. It's tzedakah and kolam mitzvahs. It's tzedakah are all the mitzvahs. So that means the idea avodah begimel amudim anal through the avodah these 3 things. Torah avodah minas chasadim. Boim b'meheir v'meinu mamish al hagulam v'golazu. We come speedily in our days mamish to the redemption from this gol hagulam v'golazu, the redemption from this golus. Then will be fulfilled what it says. They will make for him migdash, the 3rd base of migdash. The avi was from a saying we're going to alishkas base al kingdom. Then we'll bring our donations, our trumas, to the chambers of our God's home. The gulam mitzvah shlema. Then Mashiach Tzedkenu mamish in the true and complete redemption through Mashiach Tzedkenu speedily in our days mamish.